Checking the markets, and all the indices are down, but they've recovered a little bit from pre-market. The Dow is down 177, NASDAQ is down 162. Bloomberg reporting that Shell is looking into a possible takeover of BP. That decision reportedly depends on how much BP's stock continues to slide. Shares have fallen nearly 27% over the last 12 months. OPEC, meanwhile, has just agreed to accelerate oil output hikes in June. They are going to increase production by 411,000 barrels a day. Donald Trump has been calling on OPEC to do exactly that, raise output. Now this, according to a report, the Gulf of America will play a key role in the clean energy transition. While we look to alternative resources, drilling in the Gulf of America could provide an extra 2 million barrels of oil per day. Trump's former energy secretary, Dan Brouillette, joins me now for more on this. You know, it kind of makes Trump's goal of 100,000 barrels per day look small, Dan. I mean, if you can get 2 million, and once again, it's an old report. This is a McKinsey report that came out in 2022 during the Biden administration. Of course, they paid no attention to it. But McKinsey's kind of a green company. They're talking about sustainable energy. For them to come out and say you can get an extra 2 million barrels per day, that made me look.
Yeah, I tell you, it's something to look at, David. No question about that. Good morning. It's great to be with you. Look, I think the McKinsey report is spot on. What we like about the Gulf of America is that it's a very stable production platform. If you think about this in the context of electrons or electricity, in that area, we talk about base load energy. And what you just mentioned is critical for us. America has shifted to shale production, which can ramp up or ramp down production very, very efficiently to meet a demand curve. The Gulf of America, however, provides that steady 2 million barrels per day production day in and day out. And they do it very, very efficiently. Some of the most innovative,
Yes.
some of the most efficient platforms are out in the Gulf of America today.
And while the Biden administration was importing more Venezuelan oil, which is some of the dirtiest stuff around, I was going to use a different word, but they have really refined the techniques in the Gulf of America. The U.S. companies have it, not only getting it in a very clean fashion, but it burns cleaner as well.
Mm-hmm. On a life cycle basis, it is some of the lowest carbon emissions, it has the lowest carbon profile, I should say, of any crude oil produced anywhere in the world.
Now, Dan, meanwhile, Trump has proposed cutting billions in funding these renewable energy projects that the Biden administration was so keen on. It appears that Trump is bringing us back to reality on clean energy transition. Are you on board with all these cuts?
Oh, no question. I think many of the projects, many of the funding efforts that were started in Congress, either through the Inflation Reduction Act or other programs, have a tendency to distort the marketplace. And that's something we really need to be careful of. Companies should be forced to compete on innovation, on technology, on pricing in the marketplace. When government steps in and subsidizes projects or subsidizes products in particular, what happens is companies become a bit lazy and reliant upon that subsidy, and consumers lose as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, the Department of Energy just announced new leadership that's aimed at taking on the challenges of growing energy demand, specifically powering AI, which requires enormous amounts of energy. What kind of changes do you want to see so that we can lead this global AI race?
Well, I think what you're seeing at the Department of Energy is some change in personnel, again, with a continued focus on things like AI, but also resilience. You know, I think as we look around the world, we've seen changing doctrines. We've seen adversarial nations really step up to challenge the United States' dominance in certain areas. It's important that we focus on energy policy, not through a singular lens of climate change, but rather from resilience as well. Energy security does matter, and I think what you're seeing in Secretary Wright and other staffing changes there is to acknowledge that.
Dan, I want to switch gears a little to DOGE, and of course Elon Musk, for many reasons, one of which is that his companies were suffering as a result of his high exposure with DOGE. He's going to be leaving. Do you think it will be just as powerful as a means of cutting the waste and fraud in government as it was with Elon Musk around?
Oh, I think it will be. Look, Elon did a great job. There's no question about that, but he didn't do it alone. There's a great team all spread out all throughout the government. And I think more importantly, David, the American people now realize and now have seen perhaps for the first time actual tangible evidence of waste and fraud and abuse of their taxpayer dollars. So I think now there's a movement that's begun not only in Washington, but all across the country, and these efforts are going to continue.
Let's hope so. Dan Brouillette, thank you so much, Dan. Great to see you.